$47 billion. That is the amount Americans pour into gardening every single year. And a significant portion of that figure does not come from passionate plant lovers. It comes from people who keep replacing what keeps dying. Lavender that never made it through summer, hostas that rotted at the crown, ornamental grass that looked flawless on the label and collapsed before August. That is not gardening. That is a recurring expense you never agreed to. These 13 perennials are the way you end that cycle for good. If you have ever spent real money on container plants that did not survive the season, Primal Life is exactly where you need to be right now. Everything covered here is grounded in what genuinely survives across real American gardens in real American climates. Not catalog photography, not greenhouse performance, not what looks good under controlled conditions. What actually holds up when the heat arrives and no one is home to water? The first plant worth knowing is Rudbeckia. Rudbeckia is a prairie plant. It's spread itself across the American continent for thousands of years through Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Kansas, and Missouri, with no irrigation, no fertilizer, and no human involvement before anyone thought to sell it in a garden center. It does not require your assistance to stay alive. It only requires your container. The blooms are bold, golden yellow daisies with deep chocolate brown centers that open in midsummer and continue producing straight through hard frost. At the precise moment when cool season perennials are retreating under August heat, Rudbeckia is reaching its peak, which positions it as one of the most valuable container plants available for late summer and fall color. The variety Goldsturm is the most container-reliable selection, reaching 24 inches, compact and self-cleaning, and available at virtually every garden center across the country. Little Gold Star stays under 18 inches for smaller containers and more compact patio arrangements. The reason heat cannot stop it comes down to root architecture. Rudbeckia developed its structure on open American prairies, where soil surface temperatures in July routinely exceed 110 degrees Fahrenheit, and shade does not exist anywhere. Its fibrous root system spreads horizontally through the container, rather than relying on a single deep taproot, pulling moisture from the entire soil volume when the surface bakes completely dry. During the heat events that shut down moisture-dependent perennials entirely, Rudbeckia keeps producing blooms because its metabolism is calibrated precisely for those temperatures. This is not tolerance, this is preference. It handles heavy rain just as efficiently. The fibrous roots drain quickly after rainfall without pooling moisture at the crown, and the plant manages temporary waterlogging of 2 to 3 days without crown rot, which is genuinely uncommon among sun perennials, and makes it one of the most moisture-flexible options across this entire list. Use a 12 to 14-inch container with standard potting mix and a single slow-release granular fertilizer application at planting time. Water deeply once a week during peak summer heat. Leave the seed heads standing through fall. Migrating birds will strip them through January, and the dried structure provides genuine architectural interest through winter. Rudbeckia self-seeds aggressively. If you prefer not to have volunteers appearing in neighboring containers, deadhead spent flowers before the seed heads fully develop. In Zone 9 and Deep South conditions, it may behave more like a biennial than a true perennial. Allowing self-seeding is the practical way to maintain the display across seasons. The second plant is Gaillardia. Most plants quiet down in summer heat. Gaillardia intensifies. The hotter conditions become, the more aggressively it flowers, and it will do this in soil so dry and lean that nothing else seems capable of surviving it. It is also the only plant across this entire list rated for Zone 10, which means container gardeners in South Florida, coastal California, and Hawaii finally have a perennial that was genuinely engineered for their specific conditions. The flowers are fiery bicolor combinations of red, orange, yellow, and burgundy, with contrasting petal tips, blooming from late spring continuously through hard frost without any pause. Arizona sun stays 10 to 12 inches tall, making it one of the most compact perennials on this list, and precisely proportioned for 10 to 12-inch containers. For gardeners with limited patio space, this is the plant that delivers maximum color impact within the smallest available footprint. The heat performance is not coincidental. Gaillardia's native habitat spans the western prairies and high desert southwest, environments where summer temperatures exceed 100 degrees for weeks at a time, and rainfall is unpredictable at best. The plant holds carbohydrate reserves inside a woody crown structure that can slow surface activity during extreme heat events and resume full flower production the moment temperatures drop even slightly. That metabolic flexibility, the capacity to pause and recover rather than shut down permanently, is precisely what separates genuine survivors from plants that are merely marketed as tough. One honest reality up front: Gaillardia will not tolerate consistently wet soil. Of the 13 plants on this list, this one and Agastache are the most drainage dependent. Blocked drainage holes or heavy moisture retentive potting mix are not stressful to this plant. They are fatal. Use a cactus mix or a men's standard potting mix with 25% coarse perlite without exception. With proper drainage in place, it handles whatever rain events your climate produces without difficulty. The third plant is Agastache. Most plants slow down when temperatures climb above 90 degrees. Agastache blooms harder. That single distinction separates it from nearly everything else available for containers in the American market. And it is the reason that gardeners across Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, and the entire Southwest corridor should have this plant in every container they own. The flower spikes rise 2 to 3 feet and cover themselves in tubular blooms from midsummer straight through hard frost in orange, coral, pink, purple, and bicolor depending on the variety. The foliage carries a scent that combines anise and spearmint. Hummingbirds treat it like a dedicated feeding station, and pollinators work it from sunrise to sunset without interruption. If you have ever wanted a container that generates genuine wildlife activity every single day from July through October, this is the plant that makes it happen. The aromatic compounds present in Agastache foliage reflect infrared radiation, the heat component of sunlight, which actively lowers leaf surface temperature during peak heat hours. This is not a plant that accidentally tolerates heat. It originated in the high desert of the American Southwest, where 110-degree summers are not exceptional. They are the standard. Its entire biology is calibrated for conditions that most container perennials cannot endure for more than a few weeks. Waterlogged soil will not stress Agastache. It will kill it. Use terracotta containers specifically because terracotta breathes, dries faster than plastic or glazed ceramic, and naturally sustains the lean, dry conditions this plant requires. Amend your potting mix with 30% coarse perlite without exception. Water only when the top 2 inches of soil are completely dry. With that one non-negotiable condition met, this plant will outperform everything else around it for the full growing season. For containers, Kudo's Coral, Poquito Orange, and Blue Fortune are the most reliably compact varieties. Cut the entire plant back hard to 6 inches in early spring before new growth begins. That single step forces a dense, productive growth habit that generates far more flower spikes than any unpruned plant ever will. The fourth plant is Echinacea. The blooms are those unmistakable daisy-like flowers in purple, pink, orange, white, and bicolor on upright stems 18 to 24 inches tall. The cone-shaped centers transform into dramatic architectural seed heads through fall and winter, which means Echinacea earns its container space across 3 complete seasons rather than just summer. That 3-season contribution is uncommon among sun perennials, and makes it one of the strongest per square inch investments on this entire list. Echinacea develops a taproot that drills deep through container potting mix during its first growing season, reaching moisture stored at the bottom of the container long after the surface soil has baked completely dry. The petals carry a slight waxy coating that reduces water loss through evaporation. During the same July heat wave that forces moisture-dependent perennials to wilt and stop flowering, Echinacea draws from taproot reserves and maintains full bloom production. This is not chance. This is prairie engineering refined across thousands of years. Use a 14 to 16-inch container with standard potting mix amended with 20% perlite. Depth matters more than width here because of that taproot. Water deeply once per week during the summer peak. One slow-release granular fertilizer application at planting is sufficient for the entire season. Magnus, Cheyenne Spirit, and Powwow Wild Berry are the most compact and container-reliable named varieties available. Do not cut Echinacea back in fall. Leave the seed heads standing. They feed goldfinches through January and insulate the crown through winter. Cut back in early spring when new basal growth becomes visible. In zones 3 and 4, mulch the container surface with 3 inches of straw after the first hard frost, and move containers against a south-facing wall for wind protection. The fifth plant is catmint. While other perennials are surrendering in July heat, catmint is still covering itself in lavender blue flowers as though it has something to prove. And it will keep proving it from late spring straight through the first frost, reblooming in cycles that most gardeners find difficult to believe when they witness it the first time. And it will keep proving it from late spring straight through the first frost, reblooming in cycles that most gardeners find difficult to believe when they witness it the first time. This plant originates from the Mediterranean, where hot, dry summers and cool, dry winters are the standard operating conditions. Heat is not a stress event for this plant. Heat is a completely normal state of being. Walker's Low is the most widely available container variety and performs reliably across most of the country. Cat's Meow is more compact and stays tighter in smaller pots, well suited for patios where space is limited. Do not fertilize catmint. Rich soil is one of the fastest ways to undermine this plant. Over-fertilization produces long, floppy stems that collapse under their own weight and fall open at the center. Lean conditions and full sun produce the compact, self-supporting, continuously flowering plants seen in the strongest container gardens. The aromatic oils present in the foliage manage pest control naturally, repelling aphids, spider mites, and deer without any spray or intervention from you. Do not fertilize catmint. Rich soil is one of the fastest ways to undermine this plant. Over-fertilization produces long, floppy stems that collapse under their own weight and fall open at the center. For gardeners in Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and the coastal Carolinas, prolonged high-humidity summers significantly reduce catmint performance. The sixth plant is Salvia nemorosa. This plant blooms 3 times in a single season in soil that would deprive most perennials of everything they need to function. 3 complete bloom cycles, late spring, midsummer, and early fall, from one container plant that asks for almost nothing in return. That value proposition is genuinely difficult to match anywhere else in the perennial world. The flower spikes are dense and upright, deep violet blue, purple, pink, or white, depending on the variety, rising cleanly above the foliage in a way that reads as deliberate and architectural rather than casual. Caradonna carries near-black stems that make it visually compelling even between bloom cycles. Maynight produces the deepest, pure purple available in any sun perennial sold across American garden centers. Both stay 18 to 24 inches in containers, proportional, upright, and structurally clean throughout the growing season. What makes the triple bloom cycle possible is the semi-woody crown base that stores energy reserves during peak heat and releases them as temperatures ease. Cut spent flower spikes back to 2 sets of leaves and a fresh flush of blooms appears within 3 to 4 weeks. Skip cutting entirely, and it reblooms on its own timeline, which makes it genuinely forgiving for gardeners who are not always paying close attention. This plant will grow in the same container for 4 to 5 years with nothing more than an annual light top dress of fresh compost and a full cutback to basil foliage every fall. For northern gardeners in zones 4 and 5, move salvia containers against a south-facing wall after the first hard frost and mulch the soil surface with straw. Container roots experience colder temperatures than in-ground roots because there is no earth mass insulating the sides and bottom of the pot. Do not rely on a plant's zone rating alone when growing in containers in cold climates. That applies to every plant on this list, not only this one. The 7th plant is Veronica spicata. This is the plant that experienced container gardeners quietly place in every serious arrangement they build and almost never mention to anyone else, because they prefer their containers to keep looking better than what surrounds them. If you have ever grown it, you are about to understand exactly what you have been missing. The slender, tapering flower spikes in intense blue, pink, and white rise 12 to 18 inches from late spring through midsummer, and the variety Royal Candles produces one of the truest, deepest blues available in any garden perennial sold in the United States. True blue is rare in the perennial world. Most plants marketed as blue are actually purple or lavender. Royal Candles is the genuine article, and in a container, it draws attention from across the yard. The tapering spike form is not purely visual. It is functional. Heat damage to the lower portions of the spike does not terminate flower production because the plant continues generating new blooms at the growing tip, regardless of what occurs below. The fibrous roots spread wide through the container, accessing moisture across the full soil volume during dry periods, rather than depending on a single pathway to locate water. For Pacific Northwest gardeners in Portland and Seattle dealing with excess moisture rather than drought, Veronica handles consistent rain and prolonged wet springs better than nearly any other sun perennial on this list. Use a 12-inch minimum container with standard potting mix and cut spent spikes promptly to the base for reliable rebloom through summer. The 8th plant is Sedum. Sedum stores water inside its own leaves, while every other container plant on your patio is depleting its soil moisture reserves during a heat wave and waiting for someone to come home and water. Sedum is drawing from a supply it carries inside its own tissue. That biological advantage makes it genuinely unlike anything else on this list, and explains precisely why it survives droughts that eliminate everything planted around it. The upright varieties Autumn Fire, Brilliant, and Neon form substantial clumps 18 to 24 inches with thick, fleshy blue-green leaves and flat flower clusters that open pink-red in late summer and mature into copper-bronze dried seed heads through winter. 4 complete seasons of container interest, 0 deadheading, 0 fertilizer, 1 annual maintenance task. Cut old growth to the ground in early spring before new shoots appear. That is the complete care protocol from 1 year to the next. The only reliable way to kill sedum in a container is combining overwatering with poor drainage. Do not use premium moisture-retentive potting mixes. Do not place containers in saucers that hold standing water between waterings. And do not plant sedum in shade. Leggy, weak, floppy growth in low light is the plant communicating that it is in the wrong location, and that condition is not recoverable without moving it immediately to full sun. The 9th plant is Asclepias tuberosa. Every other plant on this list gives your container color and resilience. Asclepias tuberosa gives you something beyond that. It becomes a critical stop on the monarch butterfly migration route that crosses America every fall. Growing this plant in your container is not purely a gardening decision. Vivid orange, flat-topped flower clusters from early through midsummer are followed by dramatic, elongated seed pods that split open in fall to release silky white seeds. It is a conservation act, and it thrives in the hot, dry, neglected container conditions that would defeat most plants sold alongside it at the nursery. 3 distinct seasons of visual interest from one plant. The deep taproot functions identically to that of Echinacea, drilling through container potting mix to access moisture at the bottom of the pot long after surface soil has baked dry in July heat. Use a 14 to 16-inch deep container with well-draining potting mix and 20% perlite. Water weekly during the first full season of establishment, then only during extended drought. One critical point that will protect this plant. Asclepias tuberosa is among the latest perennials to emerge in spring. It can appear entirely dead even in late May in Zone 6. Do not dig it out. Do not replace it. Mark the container clearly and wait. It will emerge when soil temperature reaches its biological trigger point and deliver a full season of performance that makes the wait entirely worthwhile. The 10th plant is Dianthus. This is the only plant on this list that will stop a stranger walking past your porch, not because of anything they see, but because of what they smell. The genuine clove spice fragrance of perennial Dianthus carries from several feet away, and nothing else in container gardening produces anything like it. The compact mounding habit stays 10 to 15 inches with blue-gray evergreen foliage that persists through most winters, and fringed flowers in pink, red, white, and coral from late spring through summer, with rebloom cycles that extend color well into fall. Do not confuse perennial Dianthus with annual Dianthus sold in spring garden center displays. The tags can appear nearly identical. Look specifically for the word perennial on the label, or purchase named varieties directly by name. Firewitch is the most fragrant and reliable from Zone 3 through 9. Kahori produces coral pink blooms on a genuinely compact frame, and Tiny Rubies stays under 8 inches for window boxes and the smallest container spaces. Use a 10 to 12-inch minimum container with well-draining, lean potting mix and place containers where air moves freely around them. Crown moisture combined with poor air circulation in humid conditions is the one failure mode worth avoiding entirely. The 11th plant is Heuchera. Every patio has that one spot. North-facing, deep shade, no direct sun. You have tried things there and watched them struggle. Heuchera was built for exactly that location and will deliver 3 full seasons of the most dramatic container foliage available in American horticulture without requiring a single hour of direct sunlight. The foliage colors are extraordinary and they hold all season without fading. Deep burgundy, near black, caramel, lime green, silver, and amber. Obsidian produces near black foliage that reads as visually striking against almost any background. Georgia peach gives warm copper tones that glow in morning light. Citronelle produces lime green that brightens deep shade containers entirely. Remove winter-damaged leaves in early spring and top dress annually with fresh potting mix to keep the rising crown covered. That is the complete care requirement. 1 plant, 0 sun required, 3 seasons of genuine color. The 12th plant is Penstemon. Hummingbirds will find this plant before you finish placing it in its container. That is not an exaggeration. The tubular bell-shaped flowers in red, pink, purple, and white are precisely the architecture hummingbirds evolved to feed from. And once they locate a container of Husker red on your patio, it becomes a daily stop on their feeding route from late spring through midsummer. More Penstemon species are native to North America than almost any other plant genus. There is a Penstemon native to nearly every American climate, which accounts for its reliable performance across such a wide zone range. Use a 14-inch container with lean, well-draining potting mix and take stem cuttings every 2 to 3 years. Penstemon is short-lived at 3 to 5 years. but it roots so easily from cuttings that you will never need to purchase it a second time. The 13th plant is Liatris spicata. Liatris grows from a corm, a buried storage structure that functions like a battery. It holds water and nutrients underground, specifically to fuel the plant through the heat, drought, and neglect that eliminate everything planted around it. When that stored energy is charged and conditions align, the plant fires those reserves upward into the most dramatically unusual flowers on this entire list. Tall, feathery magenta-purple spikes that bloom from the top downward, unlike any other summer perennial in American horticulture. Native to eastern American prairies from Maine to Florida and west to Texas, if a plant spread itself wild across half of North America before anyone attempted to cultivate it, that history is the most reliable evidence of genuine adaptability available. The compact variety Cobalt stays 18 to 24 inches in containers and is the most practical selection for standard patio container sizes. Plant corms in spring with the pointed end facing up, 2 to 3 inches deep. Leave the seed heads standing through fall and winter. Finches will work through them until January, and your container maintains genuine architectural structure through the coldest months of the year. Now come the 6 mistakes that kill even these plants. And if any of them apply to what you are doing right now, stop immediately. Containers without drainage holes are responsible for more container perennial deaths than heat, cold, and neglect combined. Check every pot before planting anything. The wrong potting mix is the second mistake. Premium moisture-retentive mixes are wrong for 10 of these 13 plants. Use lean, standard formulations for the drought-adapted selections on this list. Containers that are too small are the third problem. A 6-inch pot on a south-facing patio in July reaches soil temperatures of 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Roots die at those temperatures. 12 inches is the minimum for even the smallest plants here. Cutting back in fall rather than waiting for spring is the fourth mistake. Fall pruning removes the crown insulation perennials depend on to survive winter in zones 3 through 6. Wait for visible spring growth before reaching for the shears. Moving containers repeatedly is the fifth error. Perennials calibrate their root systems to a specific microclimate across their first full growing season. Every relocation resets that process entirely. Place correctly the first time and leave them. Watering all containers on the same schedule is the 6th and most correctable mistake on this list. Agastache, Gaillardia, and Sedum need to dry out completely between waterings. Heuchera and Veronica require consistent moisture. A single, uniform watering schedule applied across different plant types is one of the most straightforward mistakes to fix in container gardening. If this content gave you a clear and honest picture of what to plant in your containers this season, consider sharing it with one gardener you know who has lost confidence in container perennials because nothing seemed to survive. They have not failed. They were simply given the wrong plants for the wrong reasons. Send them this today. Primal Life exists to give you real plants, real zone data, real variety names, and genuine, honest warnings. No filler, no greenhouse theory, only what actually works across every American climate. Your best container season is still ahead of you.